Well, thanks, Willie, for joining us on the Zwift Power Up podcast. How are things in Andorra where you are?
Kevin, I think you also know a lot of the professional riders here. I think most of the situation is a little bit better under control as opposed to the Spain and France. Only 50% of our hospitals are saturated at the moment, so everything's pretty much under control, and they've actually allowed us to go for walks from 6 to 9 at night and for a little bit of a run, but no dangerous activities. I think something interesting which the public might not know is that if you get injured now doing a dangerous activity, it's not only seen as negligence, but you also get a big fine for that, and the insurance doesn't cover you in this period.
So, interesting. So certainly it's tough times up there, isn't it, for everyone?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, a lot of it's actually quite funny. A lot of the pros, this is only their second homes, so they actually have small apartments. So it's actually not that easy, you know. They don't have big mansions up here.
Of course.
It can be difficult.
Now, before we get into your incredible feats on Zwift, I want to talk about your background in cycling. But first of all, I need to make sure that myself and our listeners get your name pronounced correctly. Okay. So everyone sees it as Willie, but being from South Africa, we pronounce it with a V, don't we? So it's Willie. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And what's the background to that?
Obviously, Willie is a very, very Dutch name, and it's extremely difficult for people around the world to change their accent to a Dutch accent as opposed to Italian or Spanish. You know, it's completely different.
Okay, nice. Well, we've cleared it up for listeners now. So in the future, for everyone, it's Willie. No more Willie Smit. Willie Smit.
But actually, my friends like, I remember with Nathan Haas and some of the guys, they like saying that. They always make jokes out of it. So sometimes they get it right, but then they just fall back to calling
just roll it anyway. Yeah. Anyway. So listen, you've just completed one of, I think, the most amazing feats on Zwift, 1,000 continuous kilometres. Now, I remember a couple of weeks ago seeing you post on social media, you put a question about, does a Zwift file save as one file over 24 hours? And I saw that and I thought, what's Willie up to here? Why is he asking a question like that? And then you come out and do this 1,000 kilometre ride. So it's a pretty amazing feat. But where does an idea like that come from?
Before this, the longest ride I've done was 500 kilometers in the end of 2019 in December, the 22nd of December to be exact. And that was just kind of a test to see if it's actually, how would it feel? Is it doable? So we did that in about 16 hours with one short stop of about half an hour, you know, just to refuel and so on. Being indoors, you see people do a lot of crazy stuff. I think, was it Francis K that did the double Everesting? That was pretty impressive in about 31 hours. But in that sense, you have a little bit, I don't know if it's easier or more difficult because you have a little bit of rest coming down the hill. My one friend did the normal Everesting, and the feedback he gave me is that you get to rest about 10 minutes down the hill. So you can actually jump off the bike, go for a coffee or something. So if it's more or less difficult, I don't know. But then, I was really inspired watching some stuff of, it's really weird, some documentaries of Muhammad Ali and catching up on some old Paris-Roubaix races and Tour of Flanders, and really got motivated and got me thinking, well, what is possible, you know? What is the longest you can go? And it's, saying it right now, it's definitely not 1,000 kilometers, yet you can do more. You just need to be prepared. And this was really uncharted territory. So I was super motivated for it for some reason, because you go a little bit crazy in the house. You've got nothing to do. Your head wanders everywhere. I really just wanted to see, because like I mentioned to you earlier, before we started this, I think people have to differentiate us from we're not ultra endurance athletes. I presume 4 to 6 hours of racing is at high intensity is not ultra endurance events or whatever. To go 37 hours straight was really difficult, and to see if it was possible was something I wanted to find out.
Perfect. No, it's a fantastic achievement. Now, you talk about some of the data there, some of the stats. So originally, did you think it was going to take you 33 hours to complete it? Did you have some sort of plan on pacing?
This is what I don't know. I didn't take any rest for this, so I ran probably about 20 to 25 hour weeks before doing this without one rest day. And obviously I decided on it the day before. I was like, okay, it's now or never. So I had no idea what to expect, So one thing we started noticing was that obviously you get a lot of pain in your bum. But what actually both me and my friend that attempted this challenge, both our fingers are actually numb on both sides. So you have a lot of pressure on your palms. And literally about after 750 kilometers, my wife actually helped me up the stairs to get to the bathroom and that. So, my legs was completely smashed. But only the quads, to be honest. So I guess it also made it more difficult because we on aero bikes. It's really aggressive positions. It's not like sitting really straight up with a nice soft saddle, and that's all these things are something you learn along the way, which was uncharted territory, which was really obstacles.
Now, did I hear you correctly then? You said you decided the day before you were going to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
So you weren't training for this, you were just fit from riding indoors anyway.
Yes.
And you decided, okay, tomorrow's the day, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's how I decided it. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, what about, so in terms of some stats for our listeners, so it took 37 hours, 1,000 kilometers, average power?
That was around about 165 watts that we averaged. So it's around about 72 kilograms at the moment. That's like 2.4 watts per kilogram. For moving time of about 33 hours.
That's very impressive to be. I would have thought around 2 watts per kilo for that duration would be quite an achievement, but to go 2.4 to 2.5, that's big. That's big numbers.
Yeah, it's interesting because some laps we were the thing is we could have done it much faster, but we also did 8,000 meters of climbing.
That's what I was going to ask you. Why did you not choose a flat route?
We wanted to make it more challenging. But it was a bit stupid because we didn't know what we're letting ourselves in for. But we wanted to get to 8.8, and then we decided on a specific course that would more or less get us there, but that was about 8,100 meters. So we could have done it much quicker, but that wasn't the goal. We wanted to make it tough as well and climb 8,000 meters. But
that's incredible. So you wanted to ride 1,000 kilometers and you wanted to make it tough. It wasn't already tough for you?
No, it was. I don't know. Maybe that's why we decided on it beforehand and we chose the course beforehand. And because we didn't want any glitches or anything, we just stayed on the course. We didn't change anything. We just did lap for lap, which was about 39.9 kilometer laps. For those that don't know, it's the out and back again lap on Zwift. But the thing is, what we also noticed that is, if you do one, let's say literally you go from 38 to 40 k's an hour or 40 to 42 on a lap, just going that 2 k's an hour faster, really, for some you don't feel it, but after a lap at the end, especially after 750 kilometers, your legs are completely smashed. It's the strangest feeling ever. It creeps up on you.
I can only imagine. I'm not going to say I understand. I can only imagine the feeling.
It really creeps up on you.
Now, I wanted to take a step back. So you're a professional rider living in Andorra, coming from South Africa. How does a kid from South Africa make it to become professional in Europe?
I had a really, I wrote for Nippo Vini Fantini before I got illness, fungal esophagitis, which actually cost me my year, and then I had to work myself back into the system. So I had really good 2017, extremely good 2017 season. I podiumed against a strong NTT team now. Well, I podiumed against them at the national championships, heavily outnumbered. Managed to finish second behind Daryl Impey, and he's incredible. When he wants to go fast on a time trial, he's incredibly fast and he's super motivated. So I was happy with second place there and going on to win African Continental Championships. And from then on, I joined the amateur team in Spain, won about 30 races that year. Also with a lot of luck, being in the right moves all the time, not just power. Definitely not power, because I don't think I'm the most talented guy that was blessed with DNA just on pure power. I think I ride a little bit more economical and try and get my way around that way. And then I was signed by Katusha for a year, only actually a year, because it's really unprecedented that a rider of my age is signed out of amateur leagues straight into World Tour. It doesn't happen. And then I was there for a year, and then they renewed again, and the year after that they stopped, which you were there in 2019. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So how old were you when they signed you to World Tour?
Was it? To be honest, and I think 25, 25. Yeah,
you're right, that is, you don't want to say old, but it is unusual to be signed at that age, isn't it, to World Tour? That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you said then that you don't think you're the most physically gifted athlete, you put it that way.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of you recently and what I've read in your recent social media, I think you're an incredibly mentally strong, not just athlete, but person as well. And you mentioned in your social media post a liking for Muhammad Ali and his way of thinking. Can you explain that a little bit to me?
So I was really motivated by two events that happened. Well, actually 3 events that happened in his life when he obviously came up through the ranks. His first big fight was against Sonny Liston, which they gave him odds of. I think 7-1 or 1-7. I don't know which way around. And he knocked him out.
Well, when you say you're ready to go to war right now,
I see that guy on the street, I beat him before the fight.
You'd actually take him on before the fight?
Beat him like I'm his daddy.
I saw Sonny Liston a few days ago, Cassius.
Ain't he ugly? He's too ugly to be the world's champ. The world's champ should be pretty like me.
Well, he told me to bet my life that you wouldn't go 3 rounds.
Well, if you want to lose your money, then bet on Sunday. I'll never lose a fight. It's impossible. Tell him. It's impossible.
Never lost a fight in your life.
I thought he was a very promising heavyweight at the time. I had no dreaming idea that he could win that fight. I didn't give him a chance in hell.
15 rounds for the heavyweight championship of the world. They might be stopping it. That might be all, ladies and gentlemen. Get up there, Joe. Get up there. Get up in the ring.
And all the experts said, well, look, he's going to lose, Muhammad Ali. They gave him no chance, basically, of winning, and he proved us. He proved everyone wrong. And it gets you thinking, we've got so many experts out there trying to put limits on us, on what we can do. And we've seen how many times they've been proven wrong over and over. So do we believe them? Do we cap ourselves? Do we put barriers on ourselves, And then then I followed, a lot of documentaries and stories in his life. And then later on, he was obviously refused to go to the military and he was banned. His title was taken away for 4 years. He then came back, obviously much slower, a little bit more fat, older. And he wasn't training in that period, so he started making his comeback, and then he had obviously he worked his way up the ranks again, and then he had 2 really big fights. I think most of the people must have heard of the Thriller in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, of course.
And so the Rumble in the Jungle was against George Foreman, which had at that time about 40 KOs, so he just knocked out everyone. They gave Ali no chance, and we all heard about the rope-a-dope, where Ali was like, oh, okay, the first 2 rounds, he's like, well, I can't dance around like this. I'll have to, use my brain, think about how am I going to work around the situation. And just in the ring, he kind of add that page to the book, where he was just lying against the ropes, saved his energy until George Foreman. In a way, so I want to relate cycling to this because it's also really mentally, but that fight really messed him up when he lost it. He actually just went almost straight into retirement from there, George Foreman, after he lost that fight against Muhammad Ali. And once again, all the experts said it would take a miracle for Ali to win that fight.
The Rumble in the Jungle is one of the most iconic and exciting fights of all time, and it ended with arguably the greatest knockout ever captured on film. After 8 brutal rounds, Ali came off the ropes and hit Foreman with a lightning-fast combination that sent him tumbling towards the ground. Instead of throwing follow-up punches, Ali stared Foreman down as he seemed to fall in slow motion towards the floor. Ali finishes the job with a cross and watches the man the world told him could not be beat fall to the floor.
And and just showed how smart he was lying against the rope, saving his energy until about the 9th round, and then he knocked George Foreman out in that round. And the same with the Thriller. Now we come back to the Thriller in Manila, which was really a brutal fight, where he was his 3rd fight against Joe Frazier, and really it was the longest they ever pushed until round 14, and he really said he was close to dying, and that fight took a piece out of them, and they went there as champions and they left as old men.
Already past his known limits in the 13th, was in uncharted territory. Even he did not know how much he had left to give. But in the 14th, he gave it all. The bell called both out to face each other for the last time. The two circled, dead tired, the look of a wounded animal in the eyes of both. 3 fights, 41 rounds, 2 championships, and 5 years had brought them here. They had tested each other in every way possible, only to find that even now, their skill, physicality, and willpower were nearly even. The fight balanced on a razor's edge. But then, just as it seemed as if both men had spent everything they had, somehow, Ali came to life. He threw one last furious assault, throwing punches as if he'd just come out for the first. But Frazier endured, and he was still looking for that one shot. To quote Ali, when someone asked a marathon runner what goes through their mind in the last mile or two, he said that you ask yourself, why am I doing this? You get so tired. It takes so much out of you mentally. It makes you go a little insane. I was thinking that at the end. Why am I doing this? What am I doing in here against this beast of a man? It's so painful. I must be crazy. Frazier marched forward on sheer willpower, taking everything that Ali threw his way. And then, it was over. The round ended, and Smoke and Joe Frazier was still standing. Through all the rounds and all the fights, Ali had never once put him down. Barely able to see, the referee guided Frazier back to his corner. As Ali sat down, he had a terrifying realization. He was not sure how much longer he could go on. Of course, he didn't know about Futch's decision. All he knew was that Frazier had taken him to his absolute limit, to a place that he'd never been before, a place he would later call the closest thing to death. In Frazier's corner, Coach Eddie Futch, who'd been witness to fighters die in the ring before, had seen enough. "I'm going to stop it," Futch told Frazier. "You're taking too much punishment." Joe protested. "No, don't. I want him, boss." Blind, battered, beaten, Frazier was in no condition to fight. "It's all over, son," Futch told him. "No one will ever forget what you did here today." And so the greatest fight in boxing history came to a close. Ali could not believe it. He stood and raised his hands in victory. A moment later, he fell to the floor. To quote the man himself, "I was so relieved, so tired, and in so much pain that my knees buckled, and I stretched right out where I was, right there in the middle of the ring." He had taken 440 hard, solid punches from Joe Frazier. Both men had already given what they had to give. Both had left a piece of themselves in that ring, and for each, it was a piece that they would never fully get back. Perhaps Ali said it best. We went to Manila as champions, Joe and me, and we came back as old men.
And I think coming from a guy like that, if you know how good and mentally strong and positive he is, if a guy like that says it, you really know he gave it his all, like literally he gave it his all. And then that whole story motivated me, and yeah, it's in a way the mentality side, mental side of it also, like I was just like at that moment like, okay, I have to see how far I can go. I have to see if it's possible doing 1,000 kilometers and how you're going to feel and all of that. Yeah, very beautiful. And sorry, by the way, on the last night, George Foreman that lost that fight, obviously it took a mental impact on me. I don't know if it was his ego or what, but he came back 10 years later at the age of 43, started working his way up the ranks and took back his title at the age of 45. So it just shows you how talented the guy was. Muhammad Ali actually fought back then. It's incredible.
That's incredible. And you mentioned the mental aspect for those athletes and yourself there. And I guess over the space of 37 hours, you must go through a whole roller coaster of emotions. How did you go through the ride? Was there periods of excitement or trepidation or nervousness? Or how were the 37 hours panning out for you?
So you definitely have nervousness, because I set myself up on social media saying I'm going to do it. So there's no backing out of it or just secretly saying, I did it or I didn't do it, you know. So you start off by setting yourself up in a you've got no choice but to complete it. And then also I started this fundraiser, all the funds which goes to the South African community, which will try and help some youngsters there. So that was also something behind it. But then, that's why that's what was my thinking about starting at 12 o'clock at night. That's 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning. It's really a difficult period to get through. So that's why I wanted to start with the most difficult period. But then the following day, around about 4 o'clock, we really cracked. I think that was about 770 kilometers in, because you're so close now. But then I literally couldn't pedal anymore, and I had to go for half an hour nap.
You're so close. You still got 230 k's to go. You're not close at all.
On the bigger picture, it looks closer.
So was there any period where you thought, nah, this is beyond me, I'm not going to be able to do this?
Yeah, definitely then, because I literally went from 0 to 0, because around about 750 to 770 kilometers in, which was about the next morning, the next day or the next morning, around about 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, I did 2 laps quite quick. We tried to stay in a group, which is a terrible thing to try and actually do, which I also learned now. I literally couldn't get up the volcano climb almost. Like, I was riding good watts, because it almost like when you're a professional cyclist, you almost get to that point where you're not used to riding less watts than 150 or 160. It's weird. So you're pushing and you're moving, but I was like, shit, I'm not even going to get to the top of this hill. So now you start asking yourself, shit, am I actually going to be able to finish this 1,000 kilometers? Because it's like 230 to go, and that's about another 7 hours on I was like, and my wife was actually standing next to me, and I'm like, am I gonna put I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I have to stop, take a 30-minute nap and see if I can continue. So that was literally all I had left.
So you had one nap during that time?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't have been able to continue without that, because my Actually, now I feel really tired. I think it's that delayed fatigue onset. You must know it well from your athletes. It's where you do a big tour and you continue training 2 or 3 days, and then that first day you take off, you're completely dead. It's a weird sensation, but we all know we get it.
You bounce back pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What about, have you got a TSS score from your ride?
It's difficult. If I select heart rate TSS, it throws out more around 1,450, which seems about right. The file,
Just please tell me that you've made a copy of that file so nothing happens to it, okay?
No.
Make a few copies.
But it's actually quite interesting. If you take the amount of calories we burned, I looked at it, 16,300 calories. And I just Googled how much calories does a McDonald's cheeseburger have, and it says about 300. So it's around about 55, 57 McDonald's cheeseburgers.
57 cheeseburgers.
Yeah. I don't even know how you're able to eat that much. It's impossible.
Well, you can. So you can justify that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Sure.
Now, listen, during this period of lockdown that a lot of us are in, or isolation, we're seeing a lot of people on social media setting themselves challenges, personal challenges, not as extreme as yours, but regardless, it's a personal challenge for different people. What kind of advice would you give people that set themselves a challenge indoors? Mentally, how should they approach it? What advice can you pass on from your experience?
Yeah, so definitely go into it relaxed, because you're going to be on the bike a really long time. So it doesn't help you just going to go quick or think you're going to go smash it. You really have to realize that you're going to sit on the bike a really long time. And once you make amends with that, or go through that acceptance phase, it's going to start mentally, it's going to be much easier, because this is really a mental effort as opposed to just a physical effort, depending where you are with your fitness and how fit you are. We actually thought that we were gonna put up a movie or something on the TV, but we didn't, because we literally stared at the Zwift screen for 37 hours, if I can put it that way, trying to stay on each other's wheels. So doing it with a partner is not as easy as you think, because they go through a bad patch, you go through a bad patch, and then you kind of have to stay with each other the whole time, and that small accelerations or pushing through that bad patch when your partner's on a good patch. So it also depends. But we use the Discord app, which is like a voice channel. You know about that.
Yeah.
Many people, I guess, have been using it for Zwift races, I guess.
It's become more popular. Yeah.
And I must say the biggest thing that helped us is we sent this link to a bunch of friends of us, and we just put on our earphones, staring at the screen, trying to focus at the speed, because you have to see the gradients that come. You have to really be focused if you're taking the challenge serious. And just hearing your friends coming on the channel, asking how you are, making jokes, that was the biggest morale lifter we had. And then I would definitely say go into it with a sufficient amount of sleep 2 days before. If you're doing Everesting or anything longer than 20, because many people have been doing 24-hour challenges as well, I see. Put enough, if you don't have chamois cream, put enough Vaseline. I guess that was just as good. And hopefully you have a good bib on the bike as well. And perhaps one thing, if you're not that advanced yet, I would definitely recommend just getting off the bike for 5 to 8 minutes really makes a massive difference. Just getting off, making yourself a quick coffee, and even drinking that coffee just on the bike, that 5 to 8 minutes makes a world of a difference. Being able to go lap after lap after lap after lap. And then then I don't want to sound like a nutritionist, but just maybe put a reminder of drinking every 10 minutes, because you are going to forget, and once you've forgotten, you can't make it up, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. I think you really raised a good point there. The engagement of riding on Zwift, like you said, you didn't watch movies, you just watched Zwift for 37 hours.
Exactly.
I've always said that indoor training is not so much about the training per se, the efforts, intervals and so on. It's about the engagement. And for you to make that statement that you were happy to stare at Zwift for 37 hours rather than watch movies, really highlights how engaging the game is. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. No, it's actually a little bit addictive, because once you get in it, it makes the effort easier when you know which, because obviously once you've chosen the circuit, you know which hills are coming up. But it's weird that you have to see the hill or see the drag coming up, so that you know what's going on. You're not just going because obviously changing is, you can't just go with feel. You actually have to see what's coming up and what's going on in the game, and trying to keep your friends wheel. And a lot of time big groups come past and you want to jump into those groups, and you have to see that to be able to do that. And then you go much quicker at this with the same energy expenditure. So if you got, and I guess what makes it a challenge is that anyone will be able to ride 1,000 kilometers if you give them 10 days, for example. So a part of the challenge is also to see how fast you can do it, and not just if you're able to do 1,000 kilometers, because that's a little bit besides the point. So regardless of what your challenge is, you also want to push your own limits while doing this challenge. That's really important to me. It's like, if it's easy, then it's not a challenge, then what's the point of doing it?
Yeah, it's a very personal experience, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Even though it's out in the public and it's or on social media and so on, it's still, like, I can see for you've set yourself a goal. It's a very personal goal, and you've achieved it. And I just think it's a fantastic achievement what you've done, and something you should be really proud of.
Yeah. Well, my one friend said, we shouldn't discard what we've done here, but I think professional cycling in the water makes you hard. So whenever you do something good, it doesn't get to you. You just stay focused, and so I have to say it hasn't sunk in at all. It doesn't. I think there's still limits you can push, which I'm excited about in the future.
Yeah. So on your future plans, are you able to say what your plans are at the moment, or you've got some ideas?
Yeah. So I think for my personal ability. Okay. So this. I think what people have to realize is why I have been able to do this at this stage is because we aren't certain of the race calendar going forward. So, and I think our first races, if it happens, will probably be in about 4 months, maybe, or 3 months. We don't know. So it gives me a time to play around a bit and test, do some different things, which was 1,000 kilometers challenge. But if a professional rider goes and does 1,000 kilometers, and a week later he has a race, and he pitches up and he doesn't perform, the team's going to be like, yes, it's because you're doing stupid stuff. Yeah. So now there was time without that I would have been criticized, because there's more than enough time to recover after the effort. But if we'll see what happens. If the season ends up being cancelled and the health ministers and so on say it's too much of a health risk, definitely aiming for 2,000 kilometers under 70 hours. That would
on Zwift.
Yeah, on Zwift, that would be the absolute. I think that would be my absolute limits in terms of physical capabilities and mental.
I think it's incredible. Yeah. I think it's incredible that you're even contemplating it. But like you said, I can see how passionate you are. I can see. I just think you're a really strong-minded person, and to even say that out loud, you're putting it out there as a thought and a goal. So it speaks volumes about your character.
Well, I remember in the training camp in 2019 when you said, I looked at your training peaks. I think you can go do 7 hours with Marcel today. I was like, fuck, am I going to get out of this bed? This guy is crazy. And then you go and you do it and you come out good after that, and you're like, it is possible, So
you can do it.
Yeah. We as humans are really weird. I think we all can really surprise us with things that are possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I guess I want to finish up with just one thing you've said today that really resonated with me was, we're told there's these limits on us, and that's not the case. You've got to go out and find what your limit is yourself, don't you?
Yeah, and the human body, I think physiologically is also really strange, because at the age of, if you look at the youngsters coming through now, like if you looked at how good Quintana was at about at the age of 21 or 22 when he almost won the Tour de France. Pogacar now, which is 21 or 22, finished on the podium of a Grand Tour. So people always think, okay, well, but the thing is, in my personal opinion, I think that's about how good they get, because we're talking about the 6 to 6.3 watts a kilogram number. We've never really seen people go that fast, go much quicker. Is that true, Kevin?
I guess the holy grail really is this 7 watts per kilo for 20 minutes. That's only a few people have actually done that. That seems to be the limit at the moment. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, so that's what maybe it's just a freak generation coming through. But what I want to refer to that is, but when I was that age, I was completely useless. I have to be honest. My numbers were, I thought it was good, but looking back at it, it was absolutely terrible. I was much heavier. I thought I was skinny. You see, that's how delusional we can be at times. I thought I was skinny. My numbers were terrible, and I was really just average, even just for an amateur. And every year that passed, I learned something new, learned from different pros, different coaches, different mentors. And I must say, the biggest thing in performance, as we've seen, is consistency. Definitely, in my opinion. And I just kept on grinding away, and I'm really surprised how much my body has changed up until now, and that my power is still improving, which is weird. Why? I don't know. So that's why we should definitely not put limits on ourselves.
Exactly. That's fantastic. Well, look, I think under the current climate, we're seeing a lot of people setting themselves challenges on Zwift. What you have shared with the public is going to be hugely inspiring. It's inspiring me to go and challenge myself on an indoor ride. I think you're a fantastic person, and what you've done is really set the benchmark for personal challenges indoors and riding and just physical fitness in general. So congratulations on what you've done. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks.
And good luck in your next goals.
Just as we end, wasn't it Matthew Heyman who did the training 6 hours indoor for the Paris-Roubaix win?
Heyman did 20 hours a week indoors.
Indoor, and I will never forget when with the broken left arm or wrist.
Yeah, broken arm.
I was training 6 hours on the indoor, and came out of that couple of weeks before Roubaix and won that. I mean, we've got absolutely no excuses to.
Well, look, continuing on from that, I think in this current period, we're going to have a lot of professionals come out of isolation. They've been training indoors. They're going to hit their first road rides outside. They're going to realise, hey, I've actually got some good fitness here. Things are going pretty good. So it's going to be a whole new wave of buy-into indoor training after this isolation ends.
I think we look past efficiency, because when you're doing a 3-hour workout, you're pedaling for 3 hours, as opposed to if I go out for a 3-hour workout, it's half an hour of descending of soft pedaling, and then through the town. So it's going to be a surprise to see how well people come out of this, because then some people might actually revert back to indoor training for some of their big races. I don't know. It's going to be unprecedented and something to look forward to.
I'll leave you with this thought, Billy. I really like to encourage double ergo sessions. Okay. Are you keen for a double 1,000k indoor session?
I don't know.
We might leave it on that note then.
Yeah, definitely.
Beauty. All right, thanks for joining us today, and good luck in the future.
Thanks, Kevin. All the best.